Okay, we've all seen it. The ocean's daily rise and fall. It is easily one of the most predictable, powerful rhythms on our entire planet. But what's really pulling the strings behind the scenes? Well, the answer isn't quite as simple as you probably think. So let's break it down.
I mean, just think about it. Every single day, trillions, that's trillions with a T, of tons of water get lifted up and then set back down, all across the globe. It's this colossal display of power, something that shapes our coastlines and even influences life itself.
Now, we all know the moon is the main culprit, right? But the real story, the full story, involves a pretty surprising twist and a kind of cosmic tug-of-war that is way more interesting than just that simple answer. All right, so the first piece of this whole puzzle is, of course, gravity. But as you're about to see, that simple answer, well, it only gets us about halfway there.
So, the moon's gravity is always pulling on everything on Earth. But water, being a fluid, it responds in a really dramatic way. The ocean on the side of Earth that's facing the moon gets pulled toward it, and this creates a huge bulge of water. And that right there is our first high tide. Simple enough, right?
And here is the twist. Because most places on the coast actually get 2 high tides every day, not just 1. So if the moon is only pulling the water on the side closest to it, then where in the world is that second high tide coming from?
Okay, this is the crucial part. You see, the moon doesn't just orbit the Earth. They're actually locked in this incredible dance around a shared center of mass. And this dance creates a kind of outward flinging force across the whole planet. So on the side of Earth that's farthest from the moon, this outward force is actually stronger than the moon's gravitational pull, causing the water to bulge out over there too.
So there you have it, 2 high tide bulges on totally opposite sides of the planet. And as our Earth spins on its axis, we pass through both of these bulges. That's what gives us our 2 high tides and our 2 low tides. And because the moon is also orbiting us while we spin, it takes just a little longer, about 24 hours and 50 minutes, or 1 lunar day, for any spot on Earth to line up directly under the moon again.
But hold on, the moon isn't the only player in this cosmic game. There's another gravitational giant that we absolutely cannot ignore, the sun.
Now, the sun is, of course, unimaginably massive, but it's also about 400 times farther away from us than the moon is. And when it comes to tides, that distance, it makes all the difference. So even though the sun's overall gravity is enormous, its actual tide-generating effect is less than half of what our little moon can do.
And this is a really key point. Tides aren't just caused by gravity itself, but by the difference in gravity from one side of the Earth to the other. Because the moon is so darn close, the difference between its pull on the near side of Earth and the far side is much, much greater than the sun's. And that's what really stretches the oceans and creates those powerful tides.
So, we've got 2 major forces, the moon's and a sun's, both yanking on our oceans. So what happens when these forces decide to work together, or when they pull against each other? This, my friends, is where the real drama of the tides begins. This alignment is really the final piece of the puzzle. It's what determines whether we're going to get some really extreme tides or very moderate ones. You can almost picture it like that cosmic tug-of-war, where the lineup of the sun, Earth, and moon decides who's pulling on which side of the rope. So when the sun, the Earth, and the moon all line up in a row, which happens during a new moon and a full moon, their gravitational forces combine. They team up. This creates the most extreme tides you can get, the highest of the high tides and the lowest of the low tides. We call these spring tides. Yeah, with this alignment, the sun's tidal bulge and the moon's tidal bulge are basically stacked right on top of each other. They're working in concert, amplifying the effect and creating the biggest possible difference between high and low tide. It's teamwork!
But what about when they're not aligned? Well, during the first and last quarter moons, the sun and moon form a 90-degree angle with the Earth. Now, their gravitational forces are actually fighting each other. You've got the sun trying to create a tidal bulge in one direction while the moon is trying to create one in another. The result? They partially cancel each other out, which gives us neap tides. These are the least extreme tides with the absolute smallest difference between high and low water. So we've connected the tides to the alignment of the sun and moon. And this reveals something really, really cool about what we actually see when we look up at the night sky. And here it is, the big aha moment. It's not the full moon itself that causes a spring tide. Nope, the full moon is just what we see from our perspective here on Earth when the sun, Earth, and moon happen to be aligned in that specific way.
The phase is just an indicator, a kind of celestial signpost telling us what's going on with that gravitational tug-of-war way out in space.
So think about it. A new moon or a full moon tells you that all three bodies are lined up for a really powerful spring tide. A first or last quarter moon, well, that tells you they're at a right angle, creating a much weaker neap tide. You can literally just look at the sky and get a pretty good idea of what the tides are up to. How cool is that?
Now, all this constant pulling and bulging, it isn't without consequences. The friction that's created by the tides is actually slowing down the Earth's rotation ever so slightly, and it has a really surprising effect on the moon itself.
38. So what does this number mean? It's a tiny, tiny measurement, but over geological time, it changes everything.
That's right. Every single year, the energy transfer from the tides actually pushes the moon about 38 millimeters further away from us. To put that in perspective, it's moving away at roughly the same speed your fingernails grow. It's this incredibly slow, cosmic breakup happening right over our heads.
And you know, that leaves us with a pretty wild final thought. As the moon gets farther and farther away, its tidal influence on us is going to get weaker and weaker. This cosmic dance that seems so permanent, so reliable, it's constantly evolving. So, what will our world and its oceans even look like when our cosmic partner has moved much, much farther away?